Okay.
That's good.
So I was in my office, and I looked at my schedule for the day, and I saw that I had a new patient coming in, a 13-year-old girl I'd never seen before. And as I was heading to my office, I glanced down the hall and saw them coming in. The father was carrying her in his arms, and she was laying back with her hands and her toes contracted down, with her head shaking back and forth. And I could see the fear in the dad's eyes and the fear in the mother's eyes trailing behind as they came towards the exam room. I had to duck into my office and compose myself, because I thought it wasn't a happy story that I was going to interact with, and I wanted to get ready. So when I went in, I went over to the girl who's lying on the table, curled up, going back and forth, and I said, tell me what's going on. And all she could whisper was, my head, my head, my head. As I talked to the family, I found out that a year ago she was completely normal ballerina and vibrant teenage student whose life had become inexplicably altered, and that despite going around to multiple places for help, they've not been able to find help. And now to the point that no one believed them, or they're having a hard time finding anyone who could believe them or help them. And I said to myself, how did I get here? How did I get to this place? What is happening that here I am in this little town, and this is the situation I find myself in, where I'm the stop for this. Well, I can remember when I was a little boy, anytime I was in a room or around people or in my family, if anyone was hurting emotionally or someone hurt physically, my attention would immediately go to that person. I just felt drawn to help people, or I got immediately upset if someone was upset. It was just built into who I was. That sort of radar of empathy to find who was hurting. And then I think in my life path I had to learn about suffering. And I was in a really bad car accident when I was 15 and almost died, and was in the hospital for 2.5 months, and I learned what it's like to be in physical pain, what it's like to be at the hands of a healer who really cares and who's very skilled. And I knew at that time that my calling was to be a healer and to be a physician. Combined with a thirst for knowledge and logic and science, it all fit together quite nicely. But in the knowledge and science part, I was kind of a pain in the ass, because I was always asking why. But why? Well, now, wait a minute. Aren't we making some assumptions here? But how come? And some people didn't like that very much. And it got me in some trouble at times. But as I moved into my practice, I began to see things that were puzzling to me. Slowly, people started trickling in with things that couldn't be explained, or that had been ignored and were being questioned as real or not. And I started seeing chronic conditions that maybe didn't have a name. And as my eyes opened and my mind opened, I started seeing that, my God, there's an epidemic of chronic illness that is occurring. And it's sometimes ignored, it's sometimes denied, and it's sometimes ridiculed. How could this be? Because I just finished training not that long ago, and if there was really some stuff going down, I would have heard about it. I would know. But the more I studied and the more I dove into the science and the more I listened to what was in front of me and I believed what was in front of me, the more I realized, which reality am I going to believe? What I see and hear from people over and over and over and over again, even though on the outside they may be told that that's not the case. I chose the reality that was in front of me. And I knew that if I walked through that threshold into that world, that my life would never be the same. That it would require great commitment. It would require me rethinking and letting go of many things that I believed before about medicine, about my profession, about the nature of illness. And I remember sitting in my office, am I going to go through this door or not? But I knew too much, and I couldn't close my mind back up. So I went through the door, and immediately, or gradually, a tidal wave of illness and demands started washing over me, and I entered the vortex of chronic illness that took on a life of its own. So I got caught in the riptide as well, and it's hard to swim in a riptide. There's a lot of force there. And I kept swimming and swimming because the need was so great, and I didn't really know what else to do. And there were signals there that maybe it was a bit too much, but how could I stop? People calling on the phone saying, I'm slowly dying. No one would believe me, and I have nowhere else to go. How could I say no? How do I balance all that? How do I balance my life and all these needs that were there? It's part of my life lesson. And sometimes answers come from simple little phrases that maybe we've heard multiple times but haven't taken to heart. Think back to the last time you were on an airplane, I do. In the event of an emergency, place the oxygen mask on yourself before assisting others.